Hello there! If you're a dino nerd like I am, you probably heard about Nanotyrannus. As you probably know, Nanotyrannus is a nomen dubium, which means it's not verified as a distinct genus. But is it? New study of a specimen found in Montana Hell Creek Formation shows us something completely opposite from what we thought. But to understand this previous debate, we needed to go back in time. We will start in 1942. When the first Nanotyrannus specimen was discovered, and the man who made this discovery is David Dunkel. The specimen was nearly complete, with a skull about 60 centimeters long. They didn't think much of it until 1946. Charles Gilmore made some changes about that. He named it Gorgosaurus lacensis. And here's why. At the time, Gorgosaurus libratus and Tyrannosaurus were both known, but juvenile stages of T-Rex were poorly understood. The skull was smaller and more gracile than a T-Rex, with large eye sockets and a narrow snout. Gilmore thought it was a small species closely related to Gorgosaurus, so he called it Gorgosaurus lacensis. In later 1940s, scientists believed Tyrannosaurs did not dramatically change shape as they grew. Therefore, a smaller skull with a slender build meant a different species, not a juvenile. The restudy period of the Nanotyrannus was in 1970s and 1980s. Robert Becker, Philip Curie and Michael Williams were men who worked on this research. They did a detailed examination of the original specimen found in 1942. They compared anatomy with T-Rex and Albertosaurus. They published a paper, Nanotyrannus, a new genus of pygmy tyrannosaur from the latest Cretaceous of Montana. Becker, Curie and Williams argued that CMNH7541 was an adult, not a juvenile. They believe it represented a small, fast-running tyrannosaur, possibly a high-speed predator or a scavenger. It had 17 to 80 maxillary teeth with more blade-like, less robust shape. As I already said, the skull was very narrow and elongated. They named it Nanotyrannus lacensis, or the dwarf tyrant from the lens formation. Some accepted the genus as valid, but others were skeptical, and they were right to do so, because no postcranial or body material was known. So yeah, just a skull and no body. I would be skeptical too. It remained rare in textbooks, but appeared in some 1990s dinosaur books as a valid genus. During the 1990s, more complete T-Rex skeletons were discovered, especially juveniles and subadults, revealing the growth of the species. I mean, just look at these two, Stan and Rocky. Rocky is a juvenile and Stan is full-grown adult. And now compare Nanotyrannus skeleton to the juvenile T-Rex skeleton, and what you see? Kinda the same animal, right? And by the late 1990s, many paleontologists now thought it was a juvenile T-Rex. The dwarf tyrant slowly disappears from scientific literature and museum labels. Until Jane's specimen came. And it started a debate. Is it a Nanotyrannus or a juvenile T-Rex? You see, it had long arms, narrow snout and more teeth than an adult T-Rex, which were arguments that it wasn't a juvenile T-Rex. But on the other hand, it showed it had unfused skull sutures. Bone histology or growth rings show it was growing rapidly. So yeah, Jane definitely gave some hype to Nanotyrannus again, but it was still very dubious. And because of many proofs that it was a juvenile, they declared it as juvenile T-Rex. The next discovery is the most crucial for Nanotyrannus. They have examined an well-preserved, near-somatically mature Tyrannosaur skeleton from the Hell Creek Formation. Using spinal fusion data, growth rings, and developmental anatomy, the researchers demonstrated that the new specimen was around 20 years old and physically mature. This fossil flips decades of Tyrannosaurus rex research on its head, said Dr. Lindsay Zano. For Nanotyrannus to be a juvenile Tyrannosaurus rex, it would need to defy everything we know about vertebrate growth. It's not just unlikely, it's impossible, said Dr. James Napoli. And that means we actually used Nanotyrannus fossils to model Tyrannosaurus growth and behavior. And that's actually kind of crazy. See, they used baby Tyrannosaur, Nanotyrannus, and then fully grown T-Rex. But we must not forget that science makes mistakes too. This confirmation of validity for Nanotyrannus means that predator diversity in the last million years of the Cretaceous was much higher than previously thought. And that raises the question, how many other animals have we misidentified? What do you think? Which dinosaur did we also misidentify? Write me down in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next week.